Hey, my name's James Nicholson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about the property hotspots. While some areas are not really strong in the property market at the moment, in fact, I've got some data on exactly how long it takes to sell a house in the south of England compared to the north of England. There are pockets and areas that are doing really well, where house prices are growing way above inflation and they're moving in the right direction. And that will always happen in any market. I'm going to talk about whether you should be selling an expensive house or a low-end house in order to get the best price and a fast sell in this market as well. So if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. By doing that, you're joining 45,000 subscribers that get all the latest property news, house price news, interest rate news, and property investing news every single day. And I'd like to ask you a favor. Help me get some more views on this video. How can you do that? Simple. Smash like, tickle like, do something to that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that's really helped the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that takes a moment to do that. So who's this data from? Zoopla. They've got some good data. In fact, I don't know about you. You can let me know in the comments if you do this. I like to check my property portfolio at least monthly. Sometimes I do it quarterly, but most of the time I check it every single month. And I use Zoopla, the house price index, just to give me a rough guide on what they feel my properties have done. And that I keep in a spreadsheet and I update, and it just gives me an indication on, has my net worth gone up or has it gone down somewhat in this month. It's not perfect. And anytime I get a new valuation for a mortgage, I'll always use that as the real valuation rather than the Zoopla, at least for that month. But yeah, I like Zoopla, and that's probably for me the best place that I find that data. But Zoopla have come out with some data here. They've got lots of data themselves, and they're talking about the market, and they're saying that if you want to get house price growth at the moment and you want to sell your property fast, your property needs to be under £200,000. Now that makes sense, because we do know that the London market and the southern market have struggled over the last few months, and they are really not moving very, very quickly. So this does reflect in all the data we see from all the different data sources. On this channel, we talk about nationwide data, Halifax data, Rightmove data, ONS data, and they're all saying that up north, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, those places are quite strong still. And it's the London market and the home counties around that that are slow and struggling in this market. So how long does it take to sell a house at the moment? Well, that's interesting to know as well. And so it takes 45 days to sell on average across the whole of the UK. And that means England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, all of those regions. It takes on average 45 days to sell. So what about the north-south divide? What does that look like? Well, it takes 50 days in the south. And that does make sense. Like the data we're talking about that I've done over the last few days, I've talked about the southwest is struggling at the moment. There's lots of people selling second homes at the moment, due to the fact that local councils there doubled the council tax on second homes, made it more difficult to run Airbnbs and such like in those areas. We know obviously London's expensive, and so those areas are just not moving very quickly at the moment because people can't afford to buy in London because mortgage rates are still relatively high. I know you'll say historically they're not high, but they are high if you compare them to a few years ago. But what about the north? Well, the north, it's way faster. It takes 37 days on average to sell a property in the north. And that makes sense. They're telling us here, 200 grand or below, and you can move your house quite quickly. And you can see some growth in those areas. So what areas have they highlighted as being hot markets at the moment? People that don't have to worry about reducing the price and get a fairly quick sell. Well, there's 3 areas that they've picked out that are hot at the moment. And so let's put this here. So the hot areas are, firstly, Blackburn. So Blackburn, they're saying, is in this under 37 days that are selling. All of these areas that we're going to talk about here have the same annual house price growth at the moment, which is 3.5%, which is pretty strong. So Blackburn is obviously up north. They're saying that that's a good area. Falkirk, I think that's Scotland. Let me know in the comments. Pretty certain that's Scotland. Falkirk is strong. It's a busy market. It's doing really well as well from the Zoopla data as well. So that's interesting to see. Another area that's doing very well. And the last area that they talked about that's a hot market at the moment is Wigan. I really want to know, and I'll be interested to know, are any of the viewers based in these areas? Because when I make a video, I always get so many varying comments. When I talk about house prices going up, there'll always be a good chunk of you that say, not in my area, everywhere where I live, all I see is reduced prices. But then there'll always be a smaller fraction of people that will say, where I am, it's really, really busy at the moment, and we're constantly seeing house prices sell quickly, and the market is still moving. So I'd like to know, where do you live? Because I talk to some of you so often in the comments. I actually personally reply to all the comments, just in case you thought it was one of my team. It's me that replies to all of them. So I recall a lot of your usernames, but I don't know where all of you are based. So in the comment, take a minute and tell me where you're based and what do you see happening in your market. Is it busy? Is it quiet? Do you see some growth there, or do you see it in decline? Well, these areas, according to Zoopla, are busy, and it would make sense. These are all areas that are likely to have a substantial amount of properties under that £200,000 mark. And that price means that if you're a couple, you could be on a fairly low salary and still afford to buy a property. Whereas in London, you've got to have a very big deposit or have a very, very well-paid job, at least for yourself, and probably with a partner as well that you're buying with. So that's interesting to see. Those are the hot spots. Last thing before I go is we've got a new ebook that I want to give you guys. It's how to get the best mortgage deals at the moment. It's been out a few days now, and literally hundreds of you have downloaded that already. So thanks to everyone that's taken that. Click below, click on the link, fill your details in. It's free, there's no cost, and you might be able to get a few tips in there on how to save money on your mortgage. I think it's very important at the moment. Let me know what you think is the state of the market at the moment. I'd love to know your thoughts, questions, observations and opinions in the comments below. Do make sure you subscribe and check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.